everyone. My name is Stephanie, and I'm really excited to share with you all the results of our spectroscopic survey to find ultramassive galaxies with DEIMOS. So first, I want to define what the term ultramassive galaxy means. It's a subset of very rare population of galaxies that exceed stellar masses of 10 to the 11 solar mass at redshifts higher than 3. So this population was originally discovered by deep wide field imaging campaigns, but there were a lot of questions on whether these galaxies were truly at the redshifts that these photometric surveys suggested, and whether their masses were actually correct. This was the motivation behind my collaborators' project, the magazine survey, which was an extensive Keck Mossfire survey to search for ultramassive galaxies at redshift 3 to 4. We were incredibly successful, so I'm highlighting here a subset of UMGs that were spectroscopically confirmed. But to date, we've confirmed 25 UMGs at this epoch, as well as 10 dusty low redshift interlopers. What I want to focus on today is really the question on how these galaxies can exist so early on in the universe. And to answer that question, you can look at the mass assembly curves inferred by the star formation history of these galaxies. So here, that subset of UMGs from the magazine survey are now in green, and the mass assembly curves are tracing behind them. And what I want you to notice is that there's this region between redshifts 4 and 5 in which these galaxies are rapidly evolving. Some of them are forming a lot of stars, some of them are quenching. But there's not so much data here. So there's a point from Antwi Danso using Keck Mossfire as well for one UMG at this epoch, but really data doesn't exist here. So that was the motivation for my project. I wanted to search for the higher redshift UMG targets that should be there based on inferred star formation histories and photometric catalogs. I did this in the EGS field with Keck DEIMOS. And the one confirmation that I want to highlight today is this candidate UMG 28740. It originally had a photometric redshift of 4.5, looked a little bit compact in the imaging, but what made it really exciting was that it was in a very interesting region of sky. So there was an overdense region that was originally identified by Nadu et al. 2023. This region, to put into context, there's 3 other photometric sources that suggest that they're slightly less massive than a UMG, but still exceeding 10 to the 10.5 stellar mass within 1 co-moving megaparsec of the UMG candidate. So this makes this source very interesting, both from the rare mass side, but also the protocluster side. So with Keck DEIMOS, we were able to confirm that there was Lyman alpha emission. And one interesting thing was that the Lyman alpha emission was placed 0.4 higher than what we previously expected the redshift to be. So this was kind of the motivation for our project: get spectroscopic redshifts, refit the photometry, and figure out whether the mass and the star formation history were what we expected with the original target catalog. So that's exactly what we did here in our paper. So I'm showing 2 different photometric catalogs now. The blue points corresponding to the blue SED are from the Candles catalog, and the orange photometric points with the orange SED is corresponding to the newly obtained NIRCam imaging from the Sears catalog. When you look at the stellar mass alone, you find that it's well constrained amongst both catalogs and various star formation history models, about 10 to the 10.98. But what about star formation rate? When you look at star formation rate, the target catalog, the Candles, for most of the star formation history models, it suggests that this galaxy is a star-forming galaxy, whereas the NIRCam imaging is suggesting this galaxy is more likely a post-starburst or quiescent thing. So how do we disentangle these 2 scenarios? The first thing we could do is we can look more in detail at each one of these SEDs. So I'm going to first just assume that the blue SED model is the correct one. And when you do that and plot all the photometric data that we have, you notice that there's a clear outlier in the filter, in the JWST NIRCam filter 277. Now, there are emission lines in that blue SCD, so we modeled what the observed flux would be if we observe such a galaxy. And we find that even if we modeled what the flux would be if we observed a 277 observation on this blue SCD, it still does not explain the elevated flux from the NIRCam observations. The other thing is that we find the red wavelengths from NIRCam are also lower than what we would expect if we observe this object. So this suggests that the blue SCD does not explain the NIRCam imaging, especially in the IR, making it inconsistent with both sets of photometry. You could do the same argument on the other side with the orange SCD. And when you look at this picture, you notice that it fits most of the data points within error very well. And so this analysis would suggest that this is truly the right model. It fits both photometric data sets really well. It should be quiescent. But one lingering question is, well, we detected Lyman alpha, so how can that rule out this post-starburst scenario? To answer that question, what I did was I estimated the equivalent width of Lyman alpha from the bagpipes post-starburst SCD, both with and without AGN, and compared that to our observations. From this analysis, I can say that it does not rule out the post-starburst SCD. And even though there's a lot of work still to be done to figure out the origin of the Lyman alpha emission line, it's likely due to maybe some remnant star formation or AGN activity. Now, to truly answer the question of star forming versus quiescent, we would like spectroscopy to do this. Luckily, we didn't have to do this. Around the time of publication, another group independently published near spec spectroscopy of this object. So take a look at that paper from DeGraff et al. 2024, and they confirmed that this galaxy is a quiescent post-starburst type galaxy. So for the rest of the talk, I'm going to show some figures from my paper that are only going to show the quiescent scenario, but in my paper, I still talk about the star forming scenario. So the first thing we can do is we can look at simulations to see how rare this galaxy is. This is the TNG 300 simulation at redshift 5. And I have plotted here the other observed JWST near spec observations and that one Keck UMG at redshift 5. And what I want you to notice is that it's the star formation rate of this UMG is about 2 decs lower than anything produced in the TNG 300 simulation. Now, of course, that could be a volume issue as these objects are incredibly rare, but it just highlights the need to understand these objects, get number densities so that we can fine-tune our simulations and our galaxy evolutionary models. The other thing we can do is we can look at the evolutionary history of this object. So back to this plot, I'm going to update it here. So now I'm again including the JWST UMGs at these epoch and also our galaxy and its mass evolution curve based on the star formation history models. And one thing I want to point out, which is that this galaxy has to be extremely efficient at making stars in order to be so massive at such early times. How efficient? Some people will look at the conversion of baryons into stars based on lambda CDM modeling. So this gray region is showing a limit in which the galaxy is converting 20% of its baryons into stars, which is very efficient. And you can see that the star formation history of this object is definitely in tension with that. So let's move further. Let's say 100% of the baryons in this galaxy is converted into stars. This is the theoretical limit of what is allowed in lambda CDM. And we're still pushing some tension going into this region here. Now, I want to stress that I'm not saying lambda CDM is broken. And in fact, right now, it's a really interesting topic, and a lot of people are working on disentangling the tension between star formation history models of these massive galaxies that are being discovered with JWST, and also how we categorize efficiency. So I'm not saying it's broken, but what I am saying is that these objects are incredibly important for us to study if we want to answer these questions, disentangle this tension, and understand how galaxies evolved in early times. So if you want to check out my paper, the link is up top. In summary, we have a confirmed spectroscopically confirmed UMG at a redshift 5. If there's more work to be done on this galaxy, but if you want to follow that or any of my other work, I have my website linked here. So thank you.